The astronauts who traveled to orbit in a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft, the first voyage for both them and the Freedom spacecraft, described their experience as an eye-watering, even after some of their years flying fighter planes. You guys might be thinking, what are we even talking about? Well, SpaceX and NASA finally launched a Crew-4 to the space station. The newly arrived Crew-4 astronauts on the International Space Station are ready to begin a 6-month stay in the space after a smooth SpaceX trip. Want to know more? Stay tuned to Skies to Yell. Hey folks, welcome back and you're watching Skies to Yell. What you guys are waiting for? Like, share, and subscribe. In today's episode, we'll be taking a deep look into the mission, so let's get straight into it. NASA astronauts Mission Commander Kjell Lindgren, Pilot Bob Hines, and Mission Specialist Jessica Watkins, as well as ESA Mission Specialist Samantha Cristoforetti, have arrived at the International Space Station after the Crew Dragon hatch opened about 9:15 p.m. on Wednesday, April 27. At 7:37 p.m. EDT, SpaceX Dragon Freedom docked with the facility while flying roughly 261 miles over the Pacific Ocean. Following the connection of Crew Dragon to the Harmony module, the astronauts aboard Dragon and the space station performed normal leak checks and pressurization between the spacecraft in preparation for the hatch opening. Crew-4 joins the Expedition 67 crew of NASA's Chari, Thomas Marshburn, Kayla Barron, ESA's Matthias, Maurer, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Oleg Artemyev, Sergey Korsakov, and Denis Matveev. On Wednesday, April 27, astronauts from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida launched to the International Space Station from Launch Complex 39A. So what do they intend to do aboard the ISS? The international team of astronauts will serve as the space station's 4th commercial crew rotation mission, spending several months on the orbiting complex on a research expedition mission. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched the Dragon spacecraft into orbit, carrying NASA astronauts Mission Commander Kjell Lindgren, Pilot Bob Hines, and Mission Specialist Jessica Watkins, as well as ESA Mission Specialist Samantha Cristoforetti. The team will perform a microgravity experimental study on board the space station. So what comes next? Liftoff? Yes! With the return of the Axiom crew and now the successful launch of the Crew-4 members to the International Space Station, the past few weeks at Kennedy Space Center have been both exciting and hectic. Kjell, Bob, Jessica, and Samantha will conduct research on board the station to assist NASA in preparing for lengthier stays on the Moon and eventually Mars. In any case, these missions would not be feasible without the hard work of NASA and SpaceX workers on Earth. Anyways, that's good luck to Crew-4. Apart from that, this is Hines and Watkins, the first Crew-4 mission in Lindgren and Cristoforetti's second voyage to the station. It took off on a new Dragon spacecraft called Freedom by the crew, as well as a Falcon 9 launcher on its 4th journey into orbit. This is SpaceX's 5th voyage with NASA astronauts after the Demo 2 test flight to the International Space Station in 2020 as part of NASA's Commercial Crew program. SpaceX's Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California, watched a sequence of autonomous spacecraft movements during Dragon's journey, while NASA personnel monitored space station activities from the Mission Control Center at the agency's Johnson Space Center in Houston. At 7:37 p.m. on Wednesday, 27 April, Dragon docked independently to the station's Harmony module's space-facing port. Throughout the mission, NASA, SpaceX, and other international partners have worked tirelessly to ensure that the International Space Station continues to conduct important research in microgravity, as well as work on a variety of activities that benefit humanity and provide more people with access to space. Crew-4's launch, coming less than 2 days after the return of the first all-private mission to the station, exemplifies the spirit and success of the Commercial Crew program, which will help maximize the use of low Earth orbits for years to come by testing the technologies required for the Artemis program and beyond. Okay, now why don't we take a look at the crew members we have on board, huh? Lindgren, Hines, Watkins, and Cristoforetti will join the Expedition 67 crew comprising NASA astronauts Chari, Thomas Marshburn, and Kayla Barron, ESA astronauts Matthias, Maurer, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Oleg Artemyev, Sergey Korsakov, and Denis Matveev. The number of astronauts on board the space station will temporarily expand to 11 until Crew-3 astronauts Chari, Marshburn, Barron, and Maurer return to the Earth a few days later. Crew-4 is the third commercial crew mission in which an ESA astronauts will fly. ESA Director General Joseph Aspasher expressed his delight with Samantha Cristoforetti and her Crew-4 teammates' successful launch. Samantha will succeed Matthias Maurer and will continue to represent Europe and assist European experiments aboard the space station for the duration of her mission. She also has been an excellent role model, says ESA Director of Human and Robotic Exploration David Parker, who will take on the role of USOS lead on the space station, responsible for operations within the US orbital segment of the International Space Station, which includes American, European, Japanese, and Canadian modules and components. Crew-4 astronauts will spend several months aboard the space station, undertaking new scientific research in fields like material science, health, technology, and plant science in order to prepare for human exploration beyond low Earth orbit and enhance Earth's life. The Crew-4 mission is part of NASA's ongoing efforts to keep the United States at the forefront of human spaceflight. Regular, long-duration commercial crew rotation flights allow NASA to continue critical research and technological projects already on board the station. Anyways, such research helps people on Earth and provides the framework for future Moon and Mars exploration, beginning with the agency's Artemis missions, which involved the first landing of a woman and a person of color on the lunar surface. Lindgren is the Dragon spacecraft's and Crew-4 mission's commander. He is in charge of all flight stages, from launch through re-entry, and will serve as an Expedition 67 flight engineer. Lindgren's second space mission since becoming an astronaut in 2009. He worked as a flight engineer for Expeditions 44 and 45 on board the orbiting laboratory in 2015. He previously worked at NASA. Johnson as a flight surgeon supporting space station training and operations, as well as a deputy crew surgeon on space shuttle flights, STS-130 and Expedition 24. Lindgren was born in Taipei, Taiwan, and spent most of his youth in England before attending the United States Air Force Academy. Hines is the mission's second-in-command and the pilot of the Dragon spacecraft. He's in charge of spacecraft systems and performance. He will work as an Expedition 67 flight engineer aboard the station. His first flight since being selected as an astronaut in 2017. Hines spent about almost 22 years in the United States Air Force as a test pilot, fighter pilot, and instructor pilot. He was a research pilot at Johnson prior to his selection in 2017. Watkins is a Crew-4 mission expert who will oversee the spacecraft during the challenging launch and re-entry stages of flight with the commander and pilot. She will work as a flight engineer for Expedition 67 after she survives at the station. Watkins' crew raised in Lafayette, Colorado, and attended Stanford University in Palo Alto, California, and the University of California, Los Angeles, where he studied geology. Cristoforetti will also function as a mission expert, monitoring the Dragon spacecraft during the flight's challenging launch and re-entry stages. Expedition 67 will have her as a flight engineer. This will be her second voyage to space, having spent 5 months as a flight engineer on Expeditions 42 and 43 in 2015. She was born in Milan, Italy, and served as a fighter pilot in the Italian Air Force before being chosen as an ESA astronaut in 2009. In 2019, she led NASA's 23rd Extreme Environment Trip Operations mission to Aquarius, the world's only underwater research station, for a 10-day stay. Okay, let's end this here as this is kind of getting boring. Let's see what the real objective of the mission is. So as we previously stated, when the Crew-4 astronauts arrived at the space station, they were met by NASA astronauts from the Expedition 67 crew who was currently on board. Lindgren, Hines, Watkins, and Cristoforetti will work with the Expedition 67 crew to perform a variety of science and research activities during their 6-month tenure on board the microgravity laboratory. Crew-4 astronauts will undertake groundbreaking scientific research in fields like materials science, health technology, and plant science in order to prepare for human exploration beyond low Earth orbit and enhance life on Earth. Experiments will involve and include investigations on immune system, aging, organic material concrete substitutes, and cardiorespiratory effects during and after long-term microgravity exposure. Well, that's not just it. These are only a few of over 200 scientific experiments and technological displays that will take place throughout their mission. The highlighting experiment is that which tries to restore meaningful vision to persons suffering from retinal degenerative disorders such as retinitis pigmentosa and macular degeneration. This is launched alongside the crew in the Dragon capsule. The protein-based artificial retina manufacturing project examines the development of artificial retinas or retinal implants in microgravity, where production is predicted to be optimal. Do you want to know something else? Smart text shirts were sent to orbit on board the Crew Dragon as part of a German space agency research called Wireless Compose 2. The shirts are outfitted with sensors, wiring, and a communications module that allows data to be wirelessly sent to a base station. The shirt is intended to monitor cardiovascular activities such as relative blood pressure and can offer information such as cardiac contraction rate and valve opening and shutting timings, which are generally only available through sonography or CT scans. Wearable technologies like this might be utilized to monitor health during a long-duration space exploration expedition, leading to a more flexible deployment of this technology in health monitoring devices on Earth. Hey, by the way, do you want to know how the astronauts arrived at the launch pad? The Crew-4 astronauts rode in a procession of Tesla Model X automobiles to launch pad before embarking on their once-in-a-lifetime journey. Commander Kjell, Lindgren, and pilot Robert Hines were in the same vehicle. Lindgren, Hines, NASA astronaut Jessica Watkins, and ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti were in the midst of a caravan that included support team members and security staff. The Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon Freedom spacecraft, which carried the 4-person crew to the International Space Station, awaited the crew's arrival at the launch pad. Aside from all of these things, the most surprising fact is that the Crew-4 launch weather was 90% favorable for its liftoff. Liftoff was scheduled at 3:52 a.m. EDT, which was instantaneous launch window, with launch weather officials from the 45th Weather Squadron at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station forecasting a 90% likelihood of acceptable weather conditions. Cumulus clouds and flying through precipitation regulations were the key weather considerations. Teams also kept an eye on the weather along Crew Dragon's flight path, which was believed to be suitable for launch. NASA television and the agency's website began live countdown coverage at 12 a.m. Following liftoff, the Crew-4 astronauts traveled for 16.5 hours to the space station, where they were met by NASA astronauts. This wasn't just about the weather conditions. Adequate preparations were also made. On April 19, the Falcon 9 rocket with the Crew Dragon aboard moved out to launch pad at Kennedy Space Center in Florida in preparation for NASA's Crew-4 mission. The rocket was upright at Kennedy's Launch Pad 39 and had successfully dry press rehearsal with the launch team and crew members in the early morning hours of April 20th. The rocket also passed a critical milestone on April 20th. The rocket's 9 Merlin first-stage engines roared to life for 7 seconds while vertical on the launch pad at Kennedy's Space Center's Launch Complex 39 in Florida, completing the routine but essential integrated static fire test. Anyways, when coming back to SpaceX, the company now has sent 26 people to orbit in less than 2 years. It is a great achievement for them. Musk's business launched Crew-4 less than 39 hours after returning the private astronaut crew of Axiom's AX-1, which splashed down the Crew Dragon spacecraft Endeavour. After the launch, SpaceX had also landed the Falcon 9 rocket's booster, which is a huge bottom portion of the rocket. This Falcon 9 rocket booster has already flown 3 flights, making this the 4th completed mission, and SpaceX intends to use it to fly more missions in the future. Under NASA's Commercial Crew program, SpaceX constructed its Crew Dragon spacecraft and fine-tuned its Falcon 9 rocket, which granted the firm more than $3 billion to build the system and launch 6 operational flights. Well, Commercial Crew is a tough program. NASA also gave Boeing $4.8 billion in contracts to create the Starliner spaceship, although that capsule is still in development owing to a difficult uncrewed flight test in December 2019. NASA highlights that in addition to proving a means for the United States to transport humans to space, SpaceX provides the government with a cost-cutting alternative. NASA plans to pay $55 million for each astronaut to travel with Crew Dragon, compared to $86 million for Russians. NASA predicted in 2020 that having 2 private firms compete for contracts would save the government $20 billion to $30 billion in development expenses. Anyways, with the latest mission, we can understand that NASA and SpaceX are once again gathering and gearing up to launch astronauts on an American rocket and spacecraft to the International Space Station as part of NASA's Commercial Crew program. So let's wait and see what this combo has got for us in the coming years. This isn't the end of the story. More interesting stuff will come in the upcoming days, and we here at the Sky Steel will deliver the best of the content to you folks. That's about it for today. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more content just like this one, and while you're at it, turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any of our future uploads. Drop a like for the video if you're a massive fan of space related stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll meet again in the next one.